Hello everybody and welcome back. It is the Armchair Experts, all thanks to PointsBet, who have said we want to be a part of what these two lunatics do every single Friday night. Talking
Madness.
About the greatest game there is. And of course, this time next Friday night, we'll be sitting here.
Talking about basketball?
No, we'll be talking about the Pies and the Cats. So all thanks to PointsBet, who have come on board in 2019. And that is the reason we're here. So PointsBet, thank you. Are we Series 2 or Season 2?
The return, I like to call it.
The
return
of the
idiots.
Armchair Experts.
The more armchair morons
Armchair
it was.
morons, which actually management really pushed to change the name for. But thank you to PointsBet. You're actually here with the Armchair Experts, not the Armchair Morons, but a big shout out to John on Twitter who hit us up. And that's what you can do over the course of tonight and into 2019. Every Friday night we'll be here. Hashtag Armchair Experts. That's 7AFL. Adam Cooney, 250 games, Brownlow medalist. Are you a former Brownlow medalist or a current? How does it work?
There's only one former Brownlow medalist.
Yeah? Who's that?
Job.
Can't believe you went there. I thought we had to wait another 5 years.
Well, you're always a Brownlow medalist.
Okay,
you're never a former Brownlow medalist.
So you're just a Brownlow medalist?
You're never a former premiership player, are you?
So I'm here with 250-game superstar, Bulldog, Bomber, and Brownlow medalist, 2008, Adam Cooney.
And you're the self-confessed sports expert fan. Is that what you're?
You know what? I actually couldn't believe
Under nine's most improved.
Right.
Out of Bacchus Marsh.
Over the course of the summer.
Yes.
And over the course of the pre-season, what stuck out for you?
What stuck out for me was my highlight of the summer was probably the day that we went down to the Geelong races with the Ballan Footy Club.
Ew.
And it was a good day. We had a few ales and enjoyed a few bets.
We
did. You managed to hold on to my remuneration that day. Have you got that money for me, or because you owe me a little bit? It's over a gorilla.
We'll see where we go. We'll talk about it off air. But yeah, that was a nice day. I particularly liked the guy who kept abusing you for stealing Gary Apple's Brownlow.
That was two guys
in
actually.
2008. And then what happened 15 minutes later?
Well, they wanted a photo, oddly enough. And I knew what they were going to do with the photo.
What were they gonna do?
I was going to be abused on social media, so I told them to get out of here.
All right. Hey, anything in the last 24 hours taken your eye? Because something very weird happened today. One footy club, I think, royally stuffed something up.
Well, I don't think they royally stuffed it up, but it was a bit odd at the captain's day today when all the 18 AFL captains, well, they should have been 18 AFL captains, got together and they have the photo at the MCG. No Dyson Heffel.
No.
So he was there in the morning.
So they have breakfast with the commission and they have captain's day at the MCG. It's open, has the photos, the cups there, all the rest of it. The fact that Dyson Heffel wasn't there is not a major concern because Max Gawn was there for Melbourne. Jason Johannesson was there for the Western Bulldogs. So there's always going to be situations where, for whatever reason, the captain cannot be there. But as Melbourne and the Bulldogs did, they send someone.
You've got to send a representative.
So then, after 45 minutes of them being only 17 captains there, who do they send?
Joe Danaher rolls in. Now, he's fresh off ripping a calf, so he's going to spend the first 5 to 6 weeks on the sidelines.
Which was announced this morning.
Announced this morning. So he must have come from Olympic Park, had his MRI scan, confirmed that he's torn the calf, ducked over to the MCG and had the captain's photo. So it was a bit odd that they sent Joe Danaher fresh off the calf. I would have had him at home, leg up, icing. Some
other news around today, and it's not great news for St Kilda. Dylan Robertson, of course, the heart episode.
Yes.
Unfortunately, and dealing with something like that, regardless professional athlete or not, and it's a worrying sign. So, of course, our thoughts with him to get in best health. He will sit out 2019. Sam Rowe, former Carlton defender, who I think, don't shoot the message here, but I'm pretty certain he has been training and was ready to play at the Doncaster Football Club.
A powerhouse.
Given a reprieve AFL.
Yeah.
John O'Marsh a couple of days ago, similar thing from the Richmond VFL. So Marsh and Rowe now at the Saints in the new rules where the deadline was 5 p.m. today. So it's worked a little bit over the course of the summer for some clubs.
Great rule that's been brought in, hasn't it?
No doubt.
It's not great for the lower levels because they work really hard over summer for their big name signings. And now even at the VFL level, SANFL level, the mid-season draft that's come in, these guys are going to be ripped out of their clubs. It's terrific individually, but for the lower tier clubs, they're the ones who are missing out. They've signed their guns and they're going to lose potentially their best player in their side on the eve of the season.
They need some compensation. I'm not certain about the lower leagues, like the whole Doncaster Football Club's a fair way removed from AFL, and that's just a really freak situation. But I also think that if you're going to get drafted out of the SANFL or the Waffle or the VFL, there needs to be some compensation at some point. And the bad news today, red, white and blue fans, Dale Morris, this morning at training, ACL injury, tears the ACL on the same knee that 12 months ago he partially tore it. Now, the Western Bulldogs had an opportunity to the 5 p.m. deadline. They chose not to. Now, obviously, the very tight deadline in the afternoon.
Tough to pick up a player in sort of an hour
no doubt.
or two.
And look, at 36 years of age, premiership player that he is and beloved son, not just of the red, white and blue, but almost of the whole AFL community.
Yep.
They'll give him every opportunity to come back at some point this year, but Dale Morris looking like he's going to miss a bulk of 2019.
Yeah, best case scenario is it's a partial tear of the ACL and he will get back. We know how resilient he is. Played that final series with a broken back, snapped his leg, came back from multiple stress fractures from that as well. So he's a bionic man, Dale Morris, and if anyone can come back and play in the back half of the season, it is Dale Morris. Hopefully it's not a full tear of that ACL because, as you said, he has done it partially, but what an unbelievable player, unbelievable person, and I think he'll go down in Western Bulldogs folklore as one of the greats after that tackle,
big tackle.
On Buddy, which Tom Boyd sealed it. For the dishy lickies.
Yeah, 65 metres out. Tom Boyd seals the premiership on the back of Dale Morris. So our thoughts, of course, with Dale Morris as well. All thanks to PointsBet. And make sure you download the PointsBet app as we get into season 2019 because if you want to have and always gamble responsibly, a little bit of a flutter on the AFL, no better way to do it.
Is that what you're going to do with my funds that you're keeping from that race day?
Funnily enough, I've already done it. All right, biggest 8 questions of season 2019. You can get involved not only tonight but over the course of the year. Hashtag Armchair Experts. I'm going to kickstart it. You ready?
Ready. Can you read? You want me to read them out to you?
If it wasn't for fantasy football, i.e.
Yep.
Dream Team and Supercoach, would anyone care about pre-season?
You hate the pre-season competition, don't you? You hate it.
Yeah, I do.
You hate it. I actually don't mind it. It's good for the fans because they want to see some of their younger players, some of their draftees who'll get a run in the JLT who might not necessarily get a game in the first half of the season or maybe in their first year. So it's good for the fans to see the younger brigade coming through. I personally am not that interested or intrigued by it, but I'm not involved in the fantasy or Supercoach. I did it last year and it was a little bit too confusing for me in terms of the buys and all that. I can't have it. So if it wasn't for that, that's about the only thing.
The question is, so
it's about the only thing that keeps people
footy, no one
going.
cares.
But AFLX, I don't think they'll play that next year.
Yeah, they will.
You reckon?
Next year will be AFLX State of Origin. There'll be one JLT game, so they've got it all the way down to one. And I don't mind teams playing. Can I point this out? I don't mind North Melbourne calling up Essendon and saying, hey, Saturday, February 25, let's have a scratch match at Windy Hill. And then opening the doors and you can go in and watch your team
Just not televised.
Just not televised. Not make a thing of it. And then there's going to be more intrigue, more drama, more suspense when we get to round 1 next Thursday.
It's good for the commentators, though, to get their eye in, as they say, iron out the cobwebs.
Did you really say that on radio a couple of weeks ago at a JLT game between the Swans and the Giants? You said iron out the cobwebs?
I got me cobwebs confused,
okay.
Unfortunately.
So you're saying without fantasy football, pre-season,
Pre-season is irrelevant. Okay. I think we know that. Ever since we won the big one in 2010, the pre-season competition, the NAB Cup. It wasn't back then.
Just you though. Remember Grant Thomas and Lenny Hayes?
Filthy.
Saints haven't got much to celebrate over the course of their time. They win pre-season.
That's why they introduced me as a no-day, one-night premiership player.
Fire away.
Which rule? This is question number 2. Which rule will not survive intact in 2020? Well, there's a host of new ones this season. Some good, some it's fair to say polarised opinion.
I think the one that will get tweaked just a little bit, I don't think it'll get changed, but I think the umpires will have a bit more leniency around it, will be the 50-metre penalty. Can we also put on the record, it's not a double 50-metre penalty. The rule has been changed that you can play straight on from the 50-metre penalty, but if the guy who is going to be on the mark doesn't get to the mark before you do, it's an extra 50, okay? And that's what's going to happen. There was nothing wrong with the old 50-metre penalty rule, I don't think, but they've introduced this. But umpires, I think, because players get the ball and then run near the other guy to milk 50.
Yeah, we've got to run a straight line. I think that's where the umpires have got to be aware, show some common sense. I think this will end up after 2 or 3 rounds. Players will adjust. We won't see many of those 50-metre penalties. They'll just go off to the side, run next to them without making any contact. And if the players... If you're a metre off the player and they want to play on once they've got the 50-metre penalty, then just tackle them. It's on the ball.
Well, I've been pushing this the entire... 50-metre penalty in today's AFL is way too long. Way too long.
Well, with your influence in the national competition, and you've been pushing it for long, there's no doubt they'll make changes soon.
But you know what happens now? If you run within 10 metres of someone, you essentially give an inside 50 or a shot at goal. And that's not what the rule was meant to do. If you tackle someone... If you stop them from being able to get rid of the ball or in a timely manner getting up and moving the ball on, I'm fine with that. That's 50. But if you are 9 metres near a play within the 10-metre exclusion zone and not even facing the guy or girl,
if you're not in their way,
shouldn't be 50.
If you're not in their way and you don't, I agree with that.
What's the rule for you?
I think that the runner rule will, it'll stay this year because the AFL couldn't back down.
I'm clapping the AFL.
Yeah, well, I don't care what you're doing. I think at the end of the season, because the coaches will eventually get their way. They will in season 2020. They will time the runners. They'll be on they'll be allowed on the ground for a certain amount of time per quarter. It'll be 3 minutes or 4 minutes.
Going to love the runner restriction rule?
Not Chad Corn.
Players. Because you know what? None of that whole getting abused, none of that whole where you got to kick it backwards, you got to slow it down. Players playing on instinct is when sport and when football's at its best. And right now they might be looking around just because that's what traditionally happens when they make a mistake or whatever called and there's someone barking instruction. There's none of that anymore. And the players are going to learn to relax and back themselves in. That's the way sport should be. So I think while right now they're a little bit confused on it, in 5 years' time, if the runner restriction is in, players are going to love it because they're not going to have someone yapping in their ear.
I think I agree with you there.
Thank you.
And the better coaches will do their work during the week, and then the leaders of the football club are going to become even more important because you're going to have to train those scenarios late in a game because the runner obviously can't come out. If there's no goals for 8 or 10 minutes and it's a tight game in the last 2 minutes,
let the players decide.
It's up to the leaders on each line to sort out your tie.
And you know who else is going to enjoy it? Players of the ilk of Luke Hodge's latent career who are able to get another 1, 2, 3 years out of it because players will say, clubs will say, hey, you know what, we need a coach in waiting on the ground to be able to help some of the young guys.
That's why I was surprised Luke Hodge was so vocal about this runner rule. He just keep it down, Hodgie. You might get another 2 years out of it.
This is players talking to you. This is the best rule introduced and for fans.
And we know you're all watching.
Yeah,
so cheerio and good luck next week, boys.
Hey, Coons, are we disrespecting the Eagles or is everyone disrespecting the Eagles? When it comes to points bet, they're fourth. Fourth in premiership betting. Fourth.
Really? So they haven't obviously had a look at their pre-season form because it's been scintillating.
It has been really
fair
good.
to say. Been very good. I think there's only one reason, and one reason only, why people are sleeping on the Eagles, and that is Richmond last season. Clearly the best team in the competition, and I think everyone is saying now it's almost too hard to go back-to-back. You look at the dominance that they had, poor prelim final, and they're out. I think people are just expecting that the Eagles aren't going to be able to go back-to-back.
That's
fine. They're going to get Nick Nat back. Andrew Gaff comes back, and some of their midfielders have gone to another level. Even in the pre-season, Dom Sheed absolutely dominated, and they've got a lot of firepower through their midfield now, and I question their midfield going into the start of last season, but the likes of Marston, Redden, and Dom Sheed gone to a new level with Shuey in there, Elliot Yeo. They're going to be right in the mix. They'll finish top 4, no doubt, with their home games.
I'm the first person to put the hand up because I all year sat on his very couch and questioned if they could get it done on the big stage, and a lot of that was related to beating the Tigers on grand final day. I had no real, massive concern they could get there with the 2 home finals, but I didn't think they could do it. They did it. So coming from someone who, I didn't disrespect them, but I was a little bit wary of them. But you know who disrespects them more than the people who might be, putting together their premiership markets or putting their predictions together?
Eddie Maguire.
I'm not certain about that, but maybe, no. The AFL.
Yeah, shame on you.
I'll tell you why.
Tell me why.
Premiership team, and now I've argued this, and it should be, the opening game of every year should be the grand final rematch at the home ground of the winner. But
have you rung Gill?
I twice, and he hasn't returned my calls, but still the year is young.
It's weird.
But, do you know where West Coast play their opening game?
TIO Stadium in Darwin?
No, they don't. They play at the Gabba against Brisbane on a twilight on a Saturday afternoon on Fox Footy.
No respect.
Now, so no free-to-air. Now, Brisbane are going to be much better. We'll discuss the Lions soon, but they're going to be a much better team. But if you want to hide a team, or when it comes to the games that probably are a little bit off Broadway, there's those 2 twilight games.
Give them the longest road trip.
Sunday. Gave them the longest road trip in the game
to
open, rather than, unfurl the premiership flag in front of their fans.
Conspiracy theory, they're trying to make it tough for them so they can't go back-to-back because they want to spread the love over the competition.
If you bring a tinfoil hat in this year and you become a conspiracy theorist, I will love it. We will have so much more fun this year than you being logical like last year.
I've seen you put blue tack over your little webcam thing on your laptop. That's only because you're
what do you got?
Getting up to some sick things.
What else have you got?
6 $1 million players.
Who are they?
In the competition. There's a few of them.
Dusty?
There's half a dozen.
Tom
Boyd.
Jeremy Cameron.
Nat Fyfe.
Buddy.
Dylan Grimes.
There's your 6.
So this is a good one, who's the next $2 million player $2 million.
Jack Lukosius from the Gold Coast Suns. And this is how it'll play out. And
this is coming from a man who has never seen him play and has not watched 1 second of the preseason competition. Is picking Jack Lukosius to be the $2 million player.
I don't need to watch it in the preseason because the experts
without watching him.
Underage football. And I've said this.
Well, you've been on the phone to Shifter Sheehan and asked him, have you?
I said to the experts.
This is great.
I said, who's the best junior? And they said Jack Lukosius will be the best guy in 5 years' time. So this is what's going to happen. And I hope this doesn't for the nature of the league.
Oh, God.
But at Port Adelaide, when he was drafted to the Gold Coast Suns, already said, we're going to go and chase these
they've already
kids.
Said he's coming home in a couple of years.
Port Adelaide, who has Charlie Dixon at his time in his career, so when Lukosius comes out of contract in, say, 2 years or 3 years or 4 years' time,
yep.
And then Adelaide, who have Tex Walker, when those guys are at the end of their career, Lukosius is coming out of contract after dipping the toe into the AFL. He's a guy that can play all around the ground, inside 50, and you're right, I haven't seen a great deal of him in a Gold Coast Sun jumper.
1 second.
Although I have been told he's burning it up. He will be the first $2 million player because either Port or Adelaide will just throw money.
Sheets.
Like that. So I think it's Jack Lukosius.
Right.
Who do you think?
I'm going to double down here. I'm going to go with Paddy Cripps from the Blues. Will be the next $2 million man in 4 to 5 years. No? And Maxi King from the Saints.
Both wrong.
Oh, okay.
Tell you why.
Tell me why,
Because
please.
no one will sign a $2 million contract to stay at their club.
I didn't say that.
Oh, so you reckon Cripps might be on the way out?
Cash is king, man.
That's my point.
If you get $2 million at another club...
So who offers it to him?
I don't care.
You think someone will
I'm not
offer
going to crystal ball in 5 years' time. Maybe Gold Coast.
So you think...
They'll lose Lukosius and then Cripps will go up there and win a flag.
Okay, so I apologise. So Cripps could be the $2 million man, but not at the Blues.
Well, you're probably not going to get $2 million at your same club.
So what are you talking... So you Max King or Ben King?
Max King.
Who plays for?
Ben King's up at the Gold Coast Suns. So Max King plays for St Kilda.
He does. So Ben King might be the next $2 million man because St Kilda might go, you know
Straight
what we'll need to do? Get them back.
King on king.
That's what I need to do. Hey, Adam Trelaw made some interesting comments during the course of the week, and he spoke about records being broken with the new rules, in particular 666, new formation we've got to be in when the ball is bounced. And he said if Tom Mitchell was playing this year, he'd probably get 70 touches.
That's a lot of the nut.
What's the next record to be broken?
Metres gained. You know the metres gained? You know who averaged the highest metres gained for any player this season over 5 games?
Brodie Smith. Did he play more than 5?
I don't think he played more than 5 games.
Yeah, close to it. He probably would have just missed out because he led the year before.
You know who it was?
Who?
Jaden Short from the Tigers. He averaged just under 600 metres gained per game. I think with the introduction of the new kick-in rule, it'll be a defender, and they'll break the metres gained record this season. And I'm going to say it's going to be Shannon Hearn.
I actually believe that the AFL should not allow possessions and metres gained to count from the new kick-in
rule. I agree with you there. But what if a player, hypothetically, runs out from fullback, out of the square, runs the length of the field, kicks a goal, does their hamstring, doesn't play for the rest of the game, and he's kicked a goal, never plays again in his career, and his stats are 0, but he's kicked a goal.
You know how he'll be rewarded?
With a goal.
The greatest goal of all time. He'll go down in folklore because he just ran the entire end of the ground.
The kickless player.
Well, give him the kick. Give him the kick then. But just don't count metres gained because Shannon Hearn, you're right, he could be... Brodie Smith's another one who does it really well for Adelaide, 75, 80 metres.
You take 10 kick-outs.
Off it.
You kick it 70, run 25, kick it 50 or 60. There's your 800 already.
Just on Adam Trelaw's comments, okay? Now, 666 doesn't... I think it's going to look aesthetically better, and it's going to give teams more opportunity if you dominate the clearance to kick more goals in quick fashion. But as soon as the ball is bounced, that's it. I'm not huge on the rule because it's meant to ease congestion, okay?
Yeah, that's why I was surprised about the comments because really...
The rule's already in place, but you don't have anyone around the ball.
You've got the same amount of space around the field as soon as the ball's been bounced. Maybe in the pre-season, clubs and coaches were happy to keep the structure of 666 all over the field because there wasn't too many spare defenders in the pre-season competition. Now, coaches no doubt will be keeping their powder dry, as they say.
How much flooding will be? Because for people who may not understand the rules, as soon as it's bounced, you can go wherever the hell you want. Now, it makes it harder to get defensively because you have to run a long ground like Geelong which is a little bit longer. It takes you longer to get inside defensive 50. So there will be opportunities where it'll be open up, but I'm surprised. But I'm with you. Meters gained, good one.
Now, we're introducing a new award this year, and I'm calling it the Mason Cox Award because these are some of the comments that you made on this very couch last season. That Mason Cox could not perform in a prelim final.
Right now, in front of 100,000 at the MCG, so early in his AFL career, going to be able to entertain and engage Alex Rance enough. Still not certain, Mason.
Stitch up.
Would you like to look down the barrel of the camera now and apologise to the tallest man in the AFL? Not Aaron Sandilands.
He was great, no prelim for 15 minutes. He was great. He was great on that night. Well, what's the award then? This is your award. What do you want him to do here? Well,
I want you to look and apologise and say sorry to Mason Cox because he has turned himself into a star of the competition, an absolute star. So much so that the AFL have branded their whole video around him.
It's a wonderful video.
Star.
Never believe in never, and where he came from playing college ball in Oklahoma. Great, and it means that anyone all around the world can play our great game. He's not a star.
What?
Mason Cox is not a superstar.
Could be the next big thing.
He could be. He could be. In 5 years' time, he could be. Wow. And his development and where he's come from to where he is now is great. I'm not diminishing how good of a footballer he is, but he is not a superstar of the league.
Not like Americans.
Huh?
Why don't you like Mason Cox?
You look me in the eye and you tell me you think that Mason Cox is a superstar.
You're cross-eyed. I don't know which one to look at.
There's new glasses. Are you honestly telling me he's a superstar?
No.
Thank you.
But I like to cause a bit of controversy.
You do.
So do you want to apologise to Mason Cox?
No, I don't.
Well, we're going to have an award.
Great promotion. Great
promotion.
Piece by the AFL. He's only going to get better, and who knows where he'll be in 5 years. But right now, he's not a superstar, and as I'll explain a little bit later on, it's one of my concerns about the Pies.
So each week we're going to have an award, and we're going to pick someone out, and if they perform, we will apologise to them the next week.
So we're going to have the Mason Cox
Award,
where we say sorry to someone who's performed where we were unsure they were going to do well.
Well, we're not unsure. We're basically going to write them off.
Okay.
As a player, and if they rise, then we apologise.
Like you did with Bailey Rice.
What about that?
Where you sat on his very couch, shouldn't be playing, and then had 28 touches in the first half.
He had about 15 in the first quarter.
Okay, so the Mason
Cox... Ice for Rice, that was, when we did the ice bath.
So the Mason Cox Award will be pre-game on a Friday night.
Yep.
Okay, I like it. And who was the coach with the most to lose?
So I'm going to exclude the two obvious choices in this. So you can't say Richo and you can't say Brendan Bolton.
Okay.
Because their hetometer is rising and has risen to the point where they're in some real strife if they don't perform in the first 6 to 8 weeks of the season. I'm going to go with Ross Lyon. I think that there's a bit going on over in Freo. We know we've heard murmurs and rumours and all sorts, and I'm not sure what's going to happen with Jesse Hogan, whether he's going to have a breakout season for the Fremantle Dockers, and also Rory Lobb, and I'm not sure they've got the depth to charge up the ladder. So Ross needs a good year, and he needs his younger brigade to really go that next level.
Ken Hinkley.
Yes.
He's a guy, when he took over the Power in 2013, they were no good. They made that second week of the finals. They nearly beat the Cats at the G. 2014, they nearly knocked off the Hawks.
Oh, that prelim final was a ripper.
Since then, they've been no good when it comes to big finals games. 12 months ago, they went out and they got Watts, which hasn't really gone all that well for a number of issues.
Geez, he's been good in the off-season.
They went and got Motlop and they went and got Rockcliffe. So I'll talk about Tom Rockcliffe later on. But Ken Hinkley has geared and he's on the record of saying, I'm sick of finishing 6th or 10th or 11th. They were second on the ladder around 15 last year. Everyone thought they were poised to make a big run deep into September, and they fell off the perch. He, because the Gold Coast Suns went for him, was given a big contract by Port Adelaide Football Club. It's his time now, and that club, Port Adelaide, and I don't believe they will have a good year, but he is the most to lose, I think. Yeah, I haven't got Port in the 8.
Oh, Koshy won't be happy about that one.
He won't. Jeez, where are we? Anyway, that's for me.
Last one.
Go.
Riser and faller. Who rise, who fall? Now, this one, I want to name the Rising Award. We had the Powell-Pepper medal last year.
Yes.
So this one is in honour of the great man, Sam Powell-Pepper, who will rise to the occasion this season.
Rory Sloane.
Rory Sloane.
Will win the Brownlow medal.
Real dark horse there.
He will
Rory
win.
Sloane. He'll win the Brownlow medal.
Brownlow
Didn't you say, who'd you say would win the Brownlow last year? And you were way off. Who was it? Who did you say would win the Brownlow last year?
You and I did a radio skit.
Oh, who was it?
And I said Dyson Heppel would win the
Dyson
Brownlow
Heppel,
in
that's what
February.
you said.
And some guy, every Tuesday night, he must have got on the cans down the local darts comp.
We hope
and
so.
every Tuesday night he would abuse me because Dyson Heppel didn't play well enough to go. And it's still polled all right, Dyson Heppel, just for that. But I think my big riser is Rory Sloane. The year for Adelaide last year was a horrible year. Unfortunately, with some personal tragedy late in the year for Rory Sloane as well. I think this year, no injuries coming into it. Co-captain as well, which he seems a lot happier about. Dominated AFLX, I got told. But when it's said, I think that Rory Sloane's going to have an outstanding year, and that gives an indication of what I might think about the Crows. Who's your riser?
Who's on the down?
Well, who's on your riser?
I'm going to go with Wayne Miller from the Adelaide Crows. Now, I think it'll be a lethal combination. We know the Crows will bounce back. Well, we're hoping the Crows bounce back into the 4. I think they'll finish really high up the ladder. Lethal combination with Brodie Smith and Wayne Miller on the half-back flanks. You talk about metres gained, he'll have a terrific season.
I'm nervous about my faller because I was on their bandwagon all of last year.
Okay.
Collingwood.
What?
Everyone's tipping them to be really good, and they.
I wonder why.
Well, you know what? You know my thoughts on
They're a kick away from winning the flag
yeah,
last
but
year.
you know my thoughts on runner-up hangovers.
Yes.
We've discussed.
They're real. They're real.
They are real.
Yep.
And of course, Dane Beams goes into what is a lethal midfield.
Lethal weapon.
But if you look at the teams that everybody picks to have really good years, okay? West Coast, Kennedy, Darling, Nathan Vardy was really good in that grand final last year. The difference of why West Coast won a grand final compared to Collingwood is because inside 50, West Coast kept taking marks and giving themselves opportunity to kick goals, and Collingwood did not.
Right.
Mason Cox is the only tall guy up there. No, I'm not. But
Mason.
well, who's their main forward if it's not Mason Cox?
He's a Channel 7 favourite.
He has to play in the ruck, okay? Then if you look towards, say, Richmond, Revolt, Lynch. Look towards Melbourne. And if you have a look at Melbourne, obviously, Wiedemann's going to go forward a little bit, or hopefully, Melbourne, they're my concern about Melbourne as well. But that is why I don't think they'll miss the 8, but I think towards the end of the year we'll be like, oh, Collingwood just a smidge off this year.
That's just purely based on your hatred for the American man in Mason Cox.
Not at all.
Which is poor from you. Sydney on the slide for me.
You said on radio today that Buddy Franklin's the best player in the game, and you reckon they're going to be no good?
He's the best player in the game. But he's got 17 other mates who I think there's 6 over 30 that are starting to slow down, hit the skids. They've got a lot of young talent, not a lot of mid-tier talent. So anyway, we're getting the wind up here from Marcus. So I don't have time.
He's winding you up because it's ridiculous.
To name them all.
Will Sydney make the 8?
He's just trying to. Sydney won't make the 8 this year.
How many games will they win?
They'll win 9 games.
Okay.
Maybe 10.
That won't be enough to make the 8. All thanks to PointsBet. Download the PointsBet app today. Get involved, in particular, into the AFL season. Always gamble responsibly. I don't know what this is, and this is what really worries me. Cooney's Comics.
I'm not 100% across it either. I didn't quite read the rundown pre-show. We should have. Kilcunda Base Junior Footy and Netball Club has offered a free Xbox if you sign up for their under-16s and under-18s team.
Clearly not quite across the Cooney's comic at all.
No, not at all.
So essentially, if you sign up to play because they're struggling for players, you get a free Xbox.
That's great.
What would you go back
What
to?
about for the seniors? What are they offering for
this is interesting
at senior level?
The Bland Football Club, who
PlayStation
we have
3?
a very slight connection with.
Yeah, we did.
I continue to get a phone call, I'll say once a week, asking what it would take for you to play one game. One game in the Central Highlands Football League. And this is open to anyone out there who's looking to have a Brownlow medalist play for your football club, because I have heard you did pre-season this year at the Spotswood Football Club in the Western Region Footy League. So Western Region Footy League clubs, Spotswood's the only one that he can play for. But anyone else, other leagues, he's open.
You're right.
How much?
I did pre-season at Spotswood this year. I've been out there 3 times, completed one full session. So I'm just about at peak fitness at the moment, into the right time of year. And I'll say the same thing that I said to Ricky Nixon when he called me at about 18 months ago to play a one-off game.
One-off.
How much do you want?
Yeah.
And I said, is it cash? He said, yeah, of course it's cash, 50 grand, I said. And then he laughed, hung up, and that was it. So 49, I'll drop my price to 49
No,
grand.
I'm being legit here, because people are actually inquiring about you playing a game. And you're saying $49,000.
Yes, 49,000 will get me over the line for a game.
No, I'm being serious.
So am I.
So you wouldn't play for less than $49,000?
No, who was the supermodel that said I don't get out of bed for less than $49,000? That was one of them.
All right. Is that
All right.
You got something else?
No, we've got a picture. This is a few of the kids signing up to the football club to get their Xbox. And have a look at the bloke in the middle. that is. You used to watch the show Agro's Cartoon Connection. A genuine look-alike of you and Agro. What's going on with the monobrow there, brother?
Do you know who Anthony Davis is?
Yes.
Superstar. The brow?
Monobrow. Have
Yeah.
you got the monobrow as well? Both on Supermax contracts.
Do you know what? That was about 15 years ago.
Anthony Davis and Agro.
That was about 15, 16 years ago.
Someone had their hand up your
Hard to
butt.
believe, but I was fairly popular with the ladies.
Yeah, that is, yeah, right. That is hard to believe. Almost impossible to believe, in fact.
All right, on that note, we are done. We're going to be back this time next week. All thanks to PointsBet. Download the app, get involved. 2019 AFL season right around the corner. Always gamble responsibly. But download the app now and be ready to go, because next Thursday night, of course, you going to the MCG for the Blues and the Tigers?
No idea.
What do you mean you don't know?
I haven't got my footy schedule yet.
As in your work schedule?
Yeah, I haven't got my work schedule.
But you know you're here on Friday?
Yeah, I'll be here on Friday.
Okay, cool. Yep. Armchair Experts will be here. It's the Pies and the Cats. All thanks to PointsBet. Armchair Experts.
Pies and the Cats.
The return of the Armchair Experts. All thanks to PointsBet. Get involved over the course of the week. Hashtag Armchair Experts.
See you next week.
See ya.